In this tutorial, I want to talk to you guys some more about the print function. And so in order to use print, we just type out the print s and gonna make an open and close parenthesis and a semicolon. So I can make an open and close quotation marks, and I could print out like hello world in here. And now it is a print out onto the screen hello world. In C programming language, print function is used to print the format output to the screen. In this tutorial, I just want to talk to you guys about what type of information we can represent and use inside of our C program, and these are called data types. So what are the different type of data that we can work with our program? So I'm gonna show you guys all those different data types right now. First, one of the most basic type of data, and probably one of the type of data you are going to be using the most gonna be number, is called an integer. Integer is basically a whole number. And another type of number we can create is a decimal number. So this will be a number unlike an integer. So it will be 2.5. Then in C, we also can store single character inside of a variable. So I could just say char grade equal, and here basically you can put any character that you want to be stored. It's important to note that you can only store one character only. These three the basic data types in C program, and just using three data types we can represent all sorts of information. In this tutorial, I want to talk to you guys using command and serial. Command is a special block of code and C which actually gets enough when we run our program. So we can use command to do all sorts of things. You can leave little notes or little comment inside of your program. That can be really useful. So I'm gonna show you guys the basic down here in my program. If I want to create a command, I can start a command using a forward slash and asterisk. When I put this asterisk in or the code in my text editor, we will change color. Order to cause of the command, I can use another asterisk and forward slash. You can see the code change back to normal code. So, inside of these two asterisks, I can basically write out anything command. For example, I write my program and I run my program. This thing is gonna by C. So it's gonna print out the command as fun only. In this tutorial, I want to talk to you guys about constant in C. Constant is a special type of variable in C which cannot be modified. So when I create a constant in C, I basically create a value that is unable to be modified. Now I want to show you guys basically how this works out. Let's say I create a variable an integer and just call it num and set it equal to 5, and then print out the integer %d and print out num. Let's say that down here I want to modify none, so I could basically say none is equal to f, the value stored inside of none variable, and come down here, print this out of %d and print out none again. So when I go run this program, you can see print out 5, and then we modify the value to 8, and then we print out 8, so I was able to modify this value down here. But each center circumstances and C gonna want to create variables or you are gonna want to create value that can be modified, so that will be values that just like cannot change and those are called constant. Variable is essentially a container where we can store different pieces of information, so different data value we could sort of theme like number of text or characters, and this variable make it a lot easier for us to keep track of and manage all the data in our program. So I want to show you guys basically how variable can be useful and how we can then in our C program. And down here I have a very basic program. I am basically just printing out a little story. It said there once was a named man John. He was 35 years old. He really liked the name John, but did not like being 35. Then when I run this program, you can see we printing out the actual story. So over here we have our story and this is great. So in order to create this variable, we can create a variable that gonna store character name and age. So we can go over here when we have the character name. I gonna erase this and gonna to replace with a %s. And now over here I gonna make a comma, and then I just gonna type in the variable name, character name and then below here I also do the same thing to replace the h here. I just put the %d and behind put the character and h. Now run the program. We can see the same as it did before in the same story, the same name and the same age. So variables are great because we can store the value one time, and then if we want to modify it, we just modify it one page only.
Okay, good morning everybody. So today I'll be teaching about getting inputs from the user and also if and else statements. So let's say you want to create a program that gets the input of student scores from the student themselves and then processes that score to see if the student has passed or not. So to get that input from that student, let's just create a variable called score, not scared, so that we have a place to store that input in. And then we want to print out our question. Let's print f. What is your score? Right? And after that, we want to use the scanf function to scan for any inputs, and this input will be an integer, so it's %d, and we want to save this input into the score variable, so we need to write ampersand followed by the variable name, which is score. Okay, so after getting in the input, we want to let's just say we want to print out the student score, right? So your score is %d because we're going to substitute that part of the sentence with the score variable, which is an integer like that. And so if we run the program, the program will ask, what's your score? I'm going to insert my score is 30, for example, and you print out your score is 30. Okay, so it looks simple enough. It's nothing too crazy, but like I said, if you want to, the program that you want to create today will take the score, not only receive the input from this student, but also determine whether the student passed or not. And to do that, we have to create an if statement. And an if statement, which is usually paired up with an else statement, like that, will help your program make decisions and be more sophisticated and complicated. And to write an if statement, you write if parentheses followed by a curly brace, and what this means is that whatever the parentheses will contain a condition, and if that condition is met, the code that is inside this curly brace will be executed. Otherwise, this if statement will be skipped over. So let's say our passing mark is 50 marks. So if our score is above 50, greater than or equal to 50, we would want the program to print out you passed. Okay, but this only handles the case for if the student passes. But if they fail, we would have to pair this if statement up with an else statement. Okay, and this else statement will be ran if whatever condition in this if statement is not met, meaning if the student failed, then the code inside this curly brace underneath the if else statement will be ran. You fail. Sad face. Okay. So what we have here is a program that gets an input from the student, stores that input in a score variable, and then if that score is 50, it prints out is more than equal to or more than 50, you will print out you pass. Otherwise, if it's not, you will print out you fail sad face instead. And let's just run this program. Oh, I think I missed something out. Oh yeah, I forgot that. Okay. So what's your score? Let's say our score is 60. Okay, you'll print out your score is 60, you passed, which is good. And let's say our score is 30, you'll print out your score is 30, you failed. Okay, so that's my explanation for today. Okay, so today I'll be talking about functions, for loops, and while loops. So what are functions? Well, you're already looking at the function right now, which is this main function. This function will be executed when the program is executed. But conventionally, when we are talking about functions are usually just a set of code, a set of lines of code that can be stored so that it can be reused repeatedly. Okay, and to demonstrate, I'm going to create a function that will be named say name. Okay, and this function print out hi Jacob. Alright, and so you think that, oh, we just wrote the function so it will be automatically be ran, right? Because the computer will read from top to bottom. But if you realize, when we run the program, we realize that, okay, I didn't write a semicolon, but if you run the program, we realize that nothing's gonna pop up. And you think that it would be weird, but it turns out that the program will only go to this main function and start from there. And in this main function, there is no instruction to print hi Jacob, right? So for the computer to notice that there's a say name function that we want to be executed, we have to call the function by writing out say name parentheses, and a semicolon, of course. So once we run, you realize that you'll be printing out hi Jacob. Okay, so let's say we want to print not only hi Jacob, but many names. Hi Carol, hi Tom, hi Dick, hi Harry. But how are we going to do that aside from, well, we can just change the name here, right? Carol, Tom, or Dick, Harry. But it doesn't seem viable because then you'd have to print it once, then change the name, then print it again. It's a long process. So to do that, I'm going to introduce you to parameters, which means that in this function, we can give it information in the form of parameters so that it can execute things more sophisticatedly. Alright, so what I mean by that is that let's just create a parameter over here that is a string called name. Okay, and what are we going to do with this name parameter? We're going to be substituting Jacob with it. So instead of printing Jacob, you'll print out hi, the name that we gave the function. Alright, So that's what it means. Hi, the name that we entered over here. And you think that, oh, we can just run the program, but that's not it. We have to insert a name inside the parentheses of the sayName function already, because we added a parameter over here. And just to demonstrate, I'm going to run this program, and you see too few arguments are given into the function sayName. It means that, well, the function is asking you to give it a name so that you can print it out, but you're not giving it, so that's why there's an error. So to avoid that error, we can just write Jacob again. Okay, after entering the name Jacob, let's run the program, and you'll print out hi Jacob. And let's say you want to print out hi Carol. You can just change the name inside here to Carol, and it'll print out hi Jacob and hi Carol, and of course create a new line so that it doesn't stick together like this. And just run again. It'll print out hi Jacob and hi Carol. So if you want to print out any name, you just have to change the parameter over here. Okay, and so that's a function. So let's say if I want to print out Jacob many times, of course I can copy the code 10 times and to print it 10 times, right? But it doesn't seem efficient. So to do that, instead of copying and pasting the code so many times, we create things called loops. So let me introduce you to the first loop that we'll be learning today, which is a while loop, and it will be written like this. And this while loop will have a parenthesis over here, and this parenthesis will contain a condition where if the condition is true or is met, any code that is inside this curly brace will be ran forever, or will be ran until the condition is no longer true. So let's create a condition inside that will forever be true. So let's say 2 is greater than 1. While 2 is greater than 1, which is forever, 2 will always be greater than 1. This sayName function will be called, meaning that hi Jacob will be printed forever. And let's just run the program, and we can realize that it's really running the program forever. It's not going to stop unless we just manually stop it like that. And usually that's not what you want, because you don't want your computer to run forever, right? So let's just say we want to make this repeat only 10 times. So what do? We have to create an integer, set its initial value to 0. Integer I, okay. And after printing hi Jacob once, we want to increase the value of this integer by 1, meaning that each time hi Jacob is printed, I will be going from 0 to 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. And this condition, we want it to be valid only when I is less than 10. So while I is less than 10, this thing will repeat. But on the 10th time that hi Jacob is printed, the value of I would have been increased so that I is equals to 10. And when I is equals to 10, it's no longer less than 10, and this whole while loop will stop. So let's just run the program, and I forgot one semicolon over there. So let's just run the program, and we can realize that this hi Jacob is printed 10 times, and that's what we wanted. Another way you can write this is to create a for loop. And a for loop is just similar to a while loop. It's just that the conditions are more compact. And what I mean by that is that instead of assigning the value of I to 0 in a separate line, we assign the value of I over here. I is assigned the value of 0, and then we write the condition of I such that the for loop will run, which is I less than 10, which is what we've written also in the while loop. Parameter that we have to add is the command or the line that will be executed for each loop. And the thing that will be executed is that we will be increasing the value of I by 1 each time the loop is ran. So, and for each loop, we want to call the sayName function so that it can print hi Jacob. So this while loop and this for loop is pretty much, it's identical. It's doing the same function. It's just that this for loop will have things that are more compact in this line over here, whereas this while loop will have the assignment of I over here, the condition over here, and the thing to be repeated every loop over here. As for the for loop, everything is inside this parentheses. So to show it to you, I'm going to delete this while loop, and also delete this assignment over here, assignment of I. When I run this program, it will also print out hi Jacob 10 times. So that is my introduction to functions, for loops and while loops. Thank you.